This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving fintech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the fintech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing fintech plays in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Money2020, this is the biggest of the financial service conferences in Europe. And I'm at the Money Pot stage speaking with the founders of Rivero, Thomas and Fatemeh. Could you please introduce yourselves?
Hello everyone, I'm Fatemeh Nikayin, one of the co-founders of Rivero, Visa's first fintech partner in Switzerland.
That's amazing.
Hello everyone, my name is Thomas Müller. I'm co-founder and CEO of Rivero. Great to be here today.
It's great to have you here. So please let us know what Rivero offers.
So Rivero is a fintech company located in Zurich, and we offer software as a service products for banks to help them automate and make their payment operation processes way more efficient.
This is really important. I've been speaking to a lot of banks, and the automating processes is very important because the costs within banks are so high.
True, fully agree. And we have two products with customers live all across Europe. Our first product is called Kayo, a solution to manage scheme license compliance. And the other product is called Amico, which is a solution to digitalize the fraud recovery and dispute management process.
Fantastic. So for scheme compliance, how does Kayo help banks in that process?
Scheme compliance is one of the core payment processes to ensure that banks stay compliant with the rules and requirements communicated by the payment networks like Visa and MasterCard in order to ensure a smooth and seamless payment experience. While scheme compliance is one of the fundamental parts of card payments, there has been no solution on the market to help banks to actually make this process more efficient. Our solution, Kayo, is the first and the only solution as of today on the market that has been designed to simplify this process, but also bring efficiency and additional expertise to this domain. We have currently several clients in Europe, to name a few: PostFinance Bank, Advancia Banks, Nets, and Paymentology are among our clients.
Nice. I saw Paymentology today. They're next to the Holland FinTech stand. And again, it's so important to work on solutions that are helping banks to cut costs and to make things more efficient and effective at the same time. So fantastic. Now I'd like to move on to find out what Amico does, helping banks with the fraud and the dispute process.
Exactly. So Amico is a completely new take on the domain of fraud recovery and dispute management. In fact, it's the first solution that works in an end-to-end digital manner, and that brings a lot of efficiency to the bank. But more importantly, it also comes with a component that the bank can integrate into their mobile banking app, basically bringing this whole process to the cardholder. So really, ultimately, our goal with Amico is to help issuing banks differentiate themselves from other cards in the market by making this a really seamless process and an almost enjoyable process for the cardholder, and therefore making sure it's their wallet that is top of their card that is top of wallet, because the consumer will know whenever something goes wrong with this card, I'm protected. I just go to the app and my problem will be solved.
That's amazing. Cutting out, calling and spending so much time and hassle and thinking, will you ever get your money back and stuff like this.
Exactly.
Wonderful. So this is your third time at Money2020, but your first time with a stand. What are you looking for here?
So Money2020 is a great event to network. It's one of the most important events throughout the year. We come here mainly to meet with issuing banks and acquiring banks to talk with them about our products. But also we really come here to just meet with people from the payment industry, to catch up with people that we haven't seen in a while, and also to exchange with other startups and to see how they are solving interesting problems as well.
And where can these people, including startups, meet you? So can they find you someplace while you're here?
Yes, they can. In fact, we are lucky this year to be part of the Startup Hangout, which is part of the Money Beach Club, which is a new part of the Money2020 show, and it's a really great place to be. So we will be there all day tomorrow. So if you want to have a chat with us while sitting in the sun, just see us there tomorrow.
So all day on Wednesday at P03. Money Beach is a really cool space. For those who haven't seen it, if you enter Money2020 and you go to the left and go to the back, then you'll go outside. And once you enter outside, you go to the right, where I think they have some of these paddle boats, and you will see on the right the stands for startups. So this is a new area, so if you haven't been, it may take a little bit of time to find the folks there, but I really encourage you to do that, because you can not only meet cool startups, but you can also enjoy the sun and have a chat with others outside of the madness. All right. I'd like to talk about your Visa partnership, right? What is that partnership all about? And it's so exciting that you're the first company in Switzerland to have that partnership.
Yes, indeed. End of 2022, we were selected by Visa as the first fintech from Switzerland to join this Visa Fintech Partner program. This is a very privileged program within which Visa has selects a few handful of companies that are providing services that brings value to Visa's clients. This means that Visa has vetted our products and are actively introducing our products to their ecosystem, to the Visa ecosystem.
So they're pretty much putting you in touch with their banking partners.
Exactly.
Because these partners have said to them, we have some pain points, and based on those pain points, they say, well, we've got a startup that actually can help you solve some of those pain points.
Indeed.
And help, at the end of the day, the end user to have a much more seamless, as you were saying, dispute resolution process.
Exactly. That's the goal.
Absolutely. So a little bit more about who you would like to meet. I know we talked about it briefly, but just if you could say, there are few people here you haven't met, but you would like them to come to you at the stand, who would they be?
So really, ideally, if you are a retail bank, right? If you are in the market, if you put out cards to your customers, and you are interested in making the operational processes more efficiently, or maybe even more so, really differentiate your offering from the bank next door. Come to us and talk with us, because we really believe with Amico we have a great solution that is good for the bank, but also very, very good for the consumer. And with Kayo we can just take out a lot of the hassle out of this compliance process, because let's face it, nobody enjoys the compliance part, but everybody has to do that. So let our tool take care of the annoying part, and you focus on the content.
That's great. Now we have a little bit of time. We've just gone through half, let's say, of the 20 minutes that we have. And one of the things that I hadn't asked you before, but I am very curious about, of course, is how you decided that this was going to be the area that you'd focus on.
That's actually an excellent question, and we get that question quite a bit. So when we started Rivero in 2019, it was clear that we want to build software as a service products, primarily with a focus on the issuing bank side, because that is where we are from. So we worked multiple years, all the three co-founders, we worked multiple years in the payment industry, and we just came across so many things that we believe can be done better. And then we said, like, well, instead of complaining about it, why not start a company and try to be part of the solution here, right? It's always better to be part of the solution. And then we just had a long list of things one could do, and then we picked Kayo, because that's really the foundation of everything, is the license, right? If you don't have the license, you can't operate in this space. So we found like that's a good way to enter the market. And then we said like, because we had ourselves pretty bad experiences with fraud on the card and with dispute management, where we had to fill out a lot of forms to get the money back. So we said like, well, this is an area where we can really help both the bank and actually the consumer, and basically everyone that has a card. And that's why we said like, okay, let's do it.
So I don't know if you can tell me, but let's say with my Visa, I'd have a dispute and that bank would be here in Europe. Unfortunately, it is an American bank, so you might not already be working with them. But how long would it take working with you on average versus, let's say, the average amount of time that it takes to resolve these disputes?
So basically, if a bank integrates Amico into their digital channel, like today that would be the mobile banking app primarily, it really is a matter of a day or two for you. So you would just go to the app, you would find the transaction you have a problem with, you would interact with our, what we call the virtual agent. That's basically a chatbot, guides you through the process. And then if that leads to a case being created in the back office at the bank, you will get your money back typically already the next day.
Amazing. I want my American bank to be talking to you. So afterwards we can exchange some details.
Let's connect with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else that you feel like we missed? Because we still have some time, You want to talk about some of the pain points that you were seeing, or maybe what maybe is next on your roadmap?
Actually bring up a good point. There is something that is next for Rivero. In fact, when you asked me earlier why have we chosen these two products, it was that we had already, back when we started the company, plans to do something, let's say, even a bit more disruptive to the payment industry. But we also felt as a startup, you have to pick your battles.
Absolutely.
You have to start somewhere. You have to focus. Exactly. You must not lose your focus. And so we said, let's get started with Kayo and Amico. But actually later this year, we will get started on the third product, which then will complement or complete, I should say, our product offering for the time being. And that is really a solution which we aim to help banks to get even closer and directly integrated with the payment networks. So that is then something that gives the bank way more control over the payment experience as such.
Cool. Okay, and last but not least, of course, since I mentioned that I have an American account, I am American, any ideas of when you might go from Europe and start servicing clients in other locations? And if so, what would those locations be?
As of today, we are mainly looking for clients in Europe because that's our home market. However, we are not really closing doors when we have interested clients from other regions. The main reason for us that we are focusing on clients in Europe is that we want to manage the operational side with the size that we are as of today. And if we have clients in other regions, then we have to expand our operation teams to be able to serve our clients 24/7. But as of today, we are talking with some banks in the US as well. So if we happen to enter that market, we will also expand our operations.
Fantastic. Okay, and then one other thought. So I wear different hats. In addition to helping Startup Bootcamp, like a matchmaker, help the startups to meet potential mentors, investors, and folks that they can work with. investor hat is I'm a founding partner of Great Stuff Ventures. So I'm always curious, are you looking for investment? And if so, like what kind of round is this and stuff like that? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd love to. First of all, we are incredibly proud that we made it as far as we made it, which I mentioned, having multiple customers all across Europe. And we are also especially proud that we managed to break even early this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Because you only started in 2019, so
Exactly.
that's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's been 4 years of a lot of work, but it paid out. And so far, the company has been funded by us, the 3 co-founders, and a handful of angel investors. So we are mostly bootstrapped, I would say. However, we do now plan to do a round later this year in summer. We are looking at collecting at around 5 million from new investors to come in. And we really want to use that money to expand, to accelerate our expansion into more markets, maybe even coming, to the US with a stronger presence earlier. So whenever somebody's interested in investing in Rivero, just let us know.
This is fantastic. So investors out there, please, if you're here at Money2020, do meet these folks at the startup stand P03 tomorrow, Wednesday. Now for investors who are not going to be here, is there a way to get in touch with you? I know we had talked about a QR code at some point. I don't know if that's for a Calendly, I don't remember. So how can they get in touch with you if people are listening to this but they're not at Money2020?
So you're right. There's a QR code that you find in the description of the podcast that you can use to book an appointment with us. Mainly if you're interested in our products. If you're an investor, you want to talk to us, it's probably best if you find us on LinkedIn. Reach out to Fatemeh or myself, and we will be happy to have a chat with you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful speaking to you. It was wonderful talking to you before we got here and hearing what makes you tick. Why did you decide to start this journey? Maybe one last question for those startups out there. There must have been a point when you thought, why did I do this? What is the
Not just one.
most important piece of advice, and maybe it's more than one, that you can give these folks?
Oh, wow. I think that with that topic, we could fill a whole podcast. Maybe we should, actually. But I would say maybe just from the top of my head, I think the most important one is, believe in your own gut feeling. Don't be too impacted by what, advisors tell you, because they've not walked in your shoes, right? Every situation, every startup is different. Also, we were in a position where we thought we should raise funds from a VC, but the company wasn't in a great place that it is today 2 years ago. And then we decided to not do that. We put in some more of our own money.
Always a good idea. I always say this. First, show the traction, and then ask for the money, because your valuation is going to be better and the conversations are going to be completely different. So
Exactly.
This is fantastic.
Exactly. Don't raise money with your back to the wall. Of course, it's easier said than done. Sometimes
Absolutely.
you get into these situations, but we were lucky that we could basically get out of there. And only 2 months later, we signed a big deal. And now we are in 2023. We are default alive, as the VCs call it. And now I think from here on, I'm quite positive about the future of Rivero.
The only way is up.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Elizabeth.
too.
Thanks for having us today.
Thank you, Money2020 and Breaking Banks Europe.
Let's roll.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of Breaking Banks Live at Money2020 Europe. We're almost ready to wrap up day one, but before we do that, I'm actually really happy to have this great person to speak with, Abe Smith from Paymentology. Welcome to the show, Abe.
Thank you, Don. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here, and I think it's a really exciting day here today. I think it's been massively crowded here, also at your stand and all the different stages that you could see. I hope you're enjoying yourself.
It's been amazing so far. So a really good quality of leads, relationships, folks coming through, meetings. We're really enjoying it.
Great to hear. And I think it's always massive, right? I think you can always imagine that everyone you want to meet is here at Money 2020. So it's a massive thing to focus on.
It really is. It's huge, and the food is decent, which is important after Seamless.
Definitely. No, so it's definitely nice to actually also take care of your inner self properly while doing so much work, right? Well, great to have you here. And I think, not everyone at Breaking Banks Europe might be familiar with Paymentology. So I'd love to hear a bit more about what you do, what's currently going on here.
So Paymentology, for the uninitiated, is an issuer processor, which basically means we sit between the scheme and the issuer. We help issuers issue cards, whether they be physical or virtual cards, and then we manage the transactions. We have a card management process. So you can think of us kind of like the plumbing, managing the data and the decisions and the transaction points in between those two nodes.
All right. Sounds like a complicated job, but how's that? Because I think you don't just do that in a small region, you actually try to do that globally. So how does that work? I mean, you could probably have to tap into all kinds of different payment rails and systems to be able to do this.
Well, in essence, it's relatively simple. In practice, it's relatively complicated. That's going to happen. So in essence, really, we are using typically scheme rails. So Visa, MasterCard, sometimes UPI. And the transactions are run along those rails, but we are the guys responsible for the handling of that data and the decision-making process, aside from actually the kind of the initial issuing of those virtual cards. Okay. Often that necessitates a local switch integration, which is a kind of local, often government-backed scheme. Yeah. And eventually we end up having to stitch those things together on a global basis. Right now we're in 48 different countries, I think, last time I checked. And it's taken a little while for us to get here, but but in essence, what we're doing is relatively simple. Yeah,
all right, and I think that's cool. And I think so, from that perspective, I think how do you see your client base evolve? I mean, do you see that actually issuers around the globe, how's that landscape evolving?
Well, issuing is undergoing a complete transformation at the moment. You know, if you look 10 years ago, the folks who were issuing cards were predominantly banks, and they were predominantly issuing physical cards. And the relationship between the issuer and the cardholder was relatively simplistic. It was dictated through basically issuing a statement and having a bunch of flyers in the statement for new products and stuff like that. Actually now, with changes in regulations and also changes in technology, and particularly the use of things like apps to govern the relationship between the issuer and the cardholder, issuing is going through an explosion. Everyone's becoming an issuer, not just your bank, but multiple different fintechs or neobanks or even telcos. So effectively, you could be doing a transaction and paying for something with a whole range of different card types from a whole range of different companies who aren't necessarily banks. So that's really kind of democratizing payments, making lots of different products available to lots of other people, often the financially excluded who don't have banks at all, can now use banking type services. And so we think that's driving a huge change for the good in the marketplace, making more product available, better value to a greater number of people. Yeah,
it's quite an exciting development, and I think from that perspective, that's really sort of driving your growth probably as well.
It's a fantastic time to be an issuer processor. I like to think that we've crawled out from under our nerdy rock and we're having our day in the sun.
Yeah, suddenly everyone's interested.
A little bit.
Well, I think it's great. And so, what do you see, for example, in the consumer market, or let's say the final users of these products? What do they see? I mean, is it really sort of everything becoming a token in a wallet kind of issuance, or do you see any other developments in that direction?
So what does the end consumer, so what's the impact on the end consumer of this kind of revolution? So that's the question. Well, I think first of all, the obvious thing is you have a great deal more choice. You know, if you want to tap into a wallet, if you want to create a payment, if you want to instantly spin up a virtual card or a one-time use only card for online, you have a great deal more options. If you think back 10 years ago, you really didn't have those options. And so, you know, if you look at companies like Revolut or Mox, who are creating that sort of offering, you know, that's the kind of rich customer API and functionality that you have now at your fingertips on your app. Whereas that didn't exist, or if it did, you have to have a relationship with the bank to do so. So those things are changing the way customers behave.
Yeah, and I think that kind of control, I think, is really important as well for consumers to have, and also I think the data insights that you're probably getting from that is also much more appealing as well.
That's my favourite topic. Yeah, so data insight. I mean, I think one of the most exciting areas for us is certainly getting deeper into the data. So for us, what's interesting about issuers, of course, lots of people can be an issuer, But if you are an issuer, essentially you are something. You're in the financial services business.
Yeah.
Whether you're a pure play financial provider or a fintech. Or somebody managing embedded finance, you are in the business of managing risk, because that's what finance is about.
Exactly.
And the better you can manage risk, that relies upon effectively the extent to which you get insights. And the extent to which you can get insights relies upon the extent to which you can unpack data. So we are on a journey to get closer to the data. Ultimately we would love to be right, into even basket level data. But then you have to A, unpack that data, and B, make sense of that data so you can have an actionable insight.
Yeah.
And what that means for the issuer is controlling downside risk of fraud, but also controlling upside risk. The risk of offering you, Dom, a new product. What kind of product should we offer you? When? How much? All of those things. And what's super exciting as a kind of next stage of development is the role AI will play in converting that data into
Something
actually
useful.
meaningful insights. So that's we're not there yet, but that's certainly our direction of travel.
Yeah, that's really exciting, I think, indeed. And I definitely can see that. I mean, the financial industry has been driven by sort of cross-sell kind of opportunities always. And that's where, of course, the data need comes from. I think understanding fraud potentially is, of course, also been a big driver for data analysis. But indeed, if you would actually take that to the next level with AI.
Yeah, I mean, if you can drive, I mean, cross-sell is one thing. A really targeted, personalized product as a result of genuine personal insight is quite another thing.
Yep.
Remember, imagine you're standing at the airport and you're about to rent a car, and suddenly they want you to pay for the excess insurance, which costs an arm and a leg. You don't really want to do so. If we can figure out that that's you in real time, and actually we have an ancillary product we can offer, that's not even payments. But we've used payments data to create that opportunity to drive better value for you and a bigger addressable market. That's some of the fun stuff.
Quite exciting. Yeah, so I think definitely exciting to see that. So how do you see that evolve from a perspective, or let's say sort of in the landscape? I mean, are there many companies actually sort of diving into this opportunity? And so is it like a highly competitive space, or is it easy to stay ahead?
That's a good question. The truth is, there aren't that many companies. If you look at the world of acquiring, there are thousands of companies. If you look at the world of issuer-side payment processing, less so. And if you look at the world of what I would call the processors who are genuinely designed for this new explosion in issuing, it's a much, much shorter list. We think that issuing is going through a massive change. We've touched upon that already. But that change requires a new breed of issuer processor to really facilitate all of the things that the new breed of issuers want to do. And we think that legacy issuer processors, particularly folks who have traditionally offered banking solutions, which maybe were on-premise, are ill-equipped to service that new marketplace for a variety of reasons. Speed to market, richness of API, the ability to deploy new product fast, the ability to get deep into the data, and also the ability to go to multiple different countries on like a shared or dedicated basis. All of those things are inherently requirements for the new world of issuer processing, and actually the world doesn't have that many issuer processors who can really service those requirements.
Yeah, I think that's quite exciting to actually to hear that. I think it's quite a challenging environment, so nice to see you are keeping up there. And so
doing our best.
That's quite nice. But I think so. What do you see sort of next? I mean, basically, if you sort of extend on a democratization of card issuing, right, as you mentioned before, what kind of things could we happen there? Is this like sort of the next loyalty, or
Well, if we think of at a more existential level. So right now, in effect, we're connecting stores of value and we're moving money between them and we're reconciling. And we like the idea that we're agnostic about those stores of value. It doesn't have to be a card, or it could be an account. It could be a crypto account. So the way we're architected, and in fact the way we think about the world, is we want to be agnostic to whatever those stores of value are. And then the means by which those are reconciled, the rails upon which those transactions happen, ultimately, rather like the schemes are doing, diversifying in their interests, we want to be agnostic in terms of the rails. So ultimately, we could be reconciling a fiat transaction with a crypto store of value on crypto rails, or we could be executing a transaction of a faster payments initiated with two different countries' open banking solutions. So, but underpinning all of that, what we do is essentially the same job. But it will just drive, I guess, better democratization of payments, better value, more optionality for the end consumer ultimately.
Cool.
That's got to
I
be
think
a
it's
good
really
thing.
nice. And I think from that perspective, also the example that you mentioned about where you actually sort of just do identification based on the data that you have. I mean, in the end, payment is not much more than actually being identified and have a credit, right? So in the end, if you're able to offer that in any kind of channel with every kind of value behind it.
That's an interesting point. So I would say actually today, at least, the whole onboarding piece we don't get into. But actually, particularly if you start going down the open banking route, there are opportunities to do that, to leverage an existing trusted relationship with the bank, not only to execute and process a transaction, but to actually facilitate not just the onboarding, in fact, and the authentication of that customer, but once you have access to open banking, you also have access to things like affordability and creditworthiness. So in real time, we can start to augment the value proposition that we already have, with things like revolving credit, buy now, pay later, with the assessment of identity and affordability and creditworthiness, and package that all up. We're not there yet, but some of these new, innovations will naturally mean we're progressing in that direction. How far we go down that road, I don't know yet. But like it's an interesting thought point.
I can imagine that's customer driven to a large extent, but really nice and interesting to hear that you're exploring those cases in any case.
Well, clients are interested in it, so we're inherently interested in what the client's interested in.
Of course. And so what else do you see as sort of a next step into the ecosystem? Sort of where do you see things heading in the long run for Paymentology?
For Paymentology, or the market, I mean, the market in general, I think, will probably undergo some degree of consolidation. I think, what's interesting, so we're going through cycles at the moment. Right now, cost of capital is high. There's also already consolidation in the marketplace. Not every, new pure play issuer processor will make it. Some will go under, some already have gone under, and some will consolidate. We happen to be in an amazing position insofar as, we have a relatively low burn compared with our growth and relatively benevolent parents in terms of our investor group. But you can already start to see consolidation in the marketplace. But our direction of travel is likely to maintain our status as a pure play issuer processor, but really with the ambition of being a certain number of things. So I think that there are a few things that drive that. At its core is we think there is a vacancy in the place of global neo processor. Okay. So, and by which I mean, if you're genuinely cloud native, if you can spin up in any cloud on a shared or dedicated environment, and if you think about that as kind of one circle in the Venn diagram, if you have a good data story, as we touched upon earlier, if you have kind of a rich API, but if you also are able to deploy all of those things very, very rapidly on a global basis, and right now we're in 48 different countries, then I think where that leads you is to a position of a global neo processor. And if you look at the list of folks who are genuinely global neo processors, it's a pretty short list.
Pretty limited, I can imagine. But it's quite an exciting one. In any case, really nice ambition actually to strive for, I would say. So it keeps me. How large is the team now, Paymentology? Let's say the firm. How big is it?
Well, when I joined a couple of years ago, it was 50. Today it's 500.
Wow, that's it's quite impressive. And lots more to come, I guess, if you go beyond the 50 countries and more.
We're just beginning.
No, exactly. It's really exciting. And I think it's really cool. Probably a lot of people would want to reach out to you and figure out more about what Paymentology is doing. So where can they find you?
Well, we have a fancy new website, paymentology.com, which is a nice, memorable place to go. And you can reach me actually directly through that website.
All right. Well, that's already a good feat. For the people that are still at Money2020, where can they find you? I think we're here in the A area, right? So this.
So we are A20. Okay. We have a fully manned stall. So just drop by A20 and we'll be ready to receive you, maybe with a coffee.
Great. Well, I think, is there anything else that you're excited about here at Money2020? What are you looking forward to for the coming days?
Enough?
I know that there's enough, but no, I think it's been great to have you on the show, and I think it's really exciting to hear about your journey with Paymentology.
It's a pleasure. We are genuinely excited to be here and excited for the journey.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you a lot for the talk. So thank you, Abe Smith, and everyone. Please visit Paymentology. We'd love to see you here. This was Don Ginsel from Holland FinTech and Breaking Banks Europe.
Thanks, Don.
See you again soon. Cheers.
Hi, I'm Liz, and I'm back with Breaking Banks Europe here at Money 2020. This is the second episode today, the first day, Money 2020. I'm here at the Payed stand with John Ryan. How are you?
Yeah, great, Elizabeth. So, there's a great buzz around this place, so really enjoying it.
It really is. So you're in the space. Anybody who's listening to this and wants to come find you, you're right behind Rabobank. What's the number of your stand?
We're the C50 stand.
C50. Fantastic. So John, could you introduce yourself, tell people, how you got involved with Payed and what your background is?
Yeah, well, my background is I live in Australia. I've been there for 25 years. I originally come from Ireland. I worked in the capital markets, and I got involved in setting up the Payments Association in Asia 5 years ago. Actually, while I was at this event, and
yes? Wow.
the genesis came out of this event. I set that up, and after about 3.5 years, I decided to move on to set up another business, which is the education and payments. So we saw a big demand for more education in payments, and we thought we may as well just go and focus on that and address the problem.
Absolutely. And so this demand is really big for all age groups. Which age group do you focus on?
Well, we do focus on all, but there's two in particular. So the grads who are coming out of third level education, who are starting in the industry, maybe working with the banks, with the payment companies, they're a particular segment that really needs what we do, because it's not a subject that's thought on the agenda. It's not on the curriculum at this stage. So we've been identifying that and working, particularly in that segment.
So let me ask you about that just a moment. So let's say my son is getting his BBA. So for BBA students, MBA students, those students are also very interesting for you, because they're going to be probably going into areas within banking or payments or other places, and still they will not have gotten the same curriculum.
Yeah, look, absolutely. So they will get elements of finance, accounting, and treasury as well, potentially, but they won't see the latest that's going on in payments, and payments is a very dynamic space. So
absolutely.
To your point, we would absolutely encourage those students who are thinking about their careers and where they want to go. They can also come to us. It's not just the companies and organizations. If you're a professional and you want to join our training, it's all online. It's sign up is online. The courses are all live, and we can work with those students. And even some of those students, we do help them with their career specifically. Do a little bit of mentoring, help to get them some placement as well. So
I think you even have a session for some of them here at Money 2020, but we'll come back to that later, because you're going to tell me another age group or focus area. Yeah.
So we also work with executives, and they've obviously been experienced in working at that senior level of companies. But again, how are they staying in touch with the developments in payments?
They happen so fast, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to some businesses, that's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. And having the education can help those businesses to better look forward to that opportunity.
So you've been at Money 2020 now 4 times. You told us about the genesis that you had of this idea back in Asia. So this is the first time that you're an education partner. What made you interested in that?
Yeah, so coming to this event, I find every year it's a different style. It's the floor is different. But there is a lot of things going on here, and there's a lot of movement. But what I noticed, particularly when I came to Amsterdam last year, was that there was no education specifically. There was no formal education on the agenda. There was no vendors in the room servicing. And that's what we do. And I felt that's appropriate. We need to come here and bring that onto the agenda. So what we did, we've been speaking and partnering with Money 2020, and there's a number of initiatives this year that we've helped to bring to this event. We've got 50 graduates coming, or current students coming to this event and getting involved in it. Yeah,
that never would have happened, without you guys having that idea.
That's right, and we're
them early on.
Exactly, and it's all new to them, and we are an education partner at Money 2020 as part of their embedded careers futures events that they're running here. So that will be done on Thursday. There's a series of sessions, and then we're culminating in a networking event at the end of that.
Nice.
But we're also doing a particular event here, which is expanding on experiential learning, which is what we're calling the sound of payments.
I've heard about this. So it's a really special session. Do you remember when it is?
Yeah, it's on at 4:20 today. Down in the outer limits stage. Yeah, so it's a nice cozy little area. It's down at the corner on the way down to the beach
Fantastic.
area. So yeah.
I want to hear more about that in a minute, after you've told me a little bit about the companies that you really like to meet here.
Well, we're interested in all of the businesses here that are attending today. Not necessarily the people who are here because they are here getting, real-time updates on what's happening. So they're not necessarily the direct group, but we're interested in the people that they represent in their organizations back, when they travel back to their own companies.
So people like reporting to them that might not have the same ability to travel to these big conferences, they'd be the right people.
Exactly.
So if you can meet some of them here, and then they'll interact with the people back in their organizations.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic.
We'd like to think that when they, when they're walking away from this massive amount of information download, that we can help them to facilitate that transfer of knowledge with their staff and help their staff to also come up to the same level. And how we do that is it's online delivery, so it's live online. So the staff don't actually have to travel, and they can still receive the knowledge transfer as well.
It's fantastic. And I've noticed so much that since COVID and since even last year, there are so many online sessions that are happening even here at Money 2020, like next door with Rabobank and the session Money Pot and all those kinds of things. I think that this is coinciding exactly with the kind of things you're trying to offer. It's the right time.
Absolutely. Look, the pandemic certainly opened our eyes to that, and that's around the time we were formed. Our birth for this education business was during that time. So we absolutely started online first, and that's given us access to present payments education around the world. We are in Europe now, but we started out in Australia. So we are able to expand. We're able to partner with our with our training partners around the world, and it's been very much a tool that's helped us a lot.
I think that when I was looking through the website, which has so many different courses, I saw one with Swift, which would be about European payments, but you also had some things on Web3 and maybe crypto, and I thought that was really interesting. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, look, we do focus our core on payments. So when we deal with courses such as Web3 and crypto and Swift even, we're always focusing on the payments angle on that. So if you're coming wanting to know the detail of Web3 and Swift and so forth, that's not really where we're sitting. We're sitting in the space that will tie in payments into those subjects. So whatever we teach in those areas, which does start with introductions, which does start on the key themes, and then we take it from there. But we do it with payments as the focus in all cases.
Very nice. I want to go back to the sound of payments, because this interactive session I found really interesting. It sounded like your colleague is going to have people from the music industry asking questions to her about payments. Is that right, or is it a little different?
Exactly. So it's really taking the people who don't even work in the industry and showing how they can come up to speed, they can learn, and how we will satisfy some of their inquiries, because we all know everyone has these questions about payments and where they're going to ask them. So it's great to have Monica. Monica is on our advisory board. She's in Malaysia. It's great to have her here in Europe for this event, and she's going to be available to answer those questions. But it's interesting on their side, because it's really art coming together with the industry. We've also got, there's a poet and a musician. So what's going to come out of this? I think it will resonate for longer than just that session, and I would like to think that we're going to hear this song, this creation, a lot longer. I've heard little snippets of it, and I think it's going to be very interesting. But I'm as excited as everyone else to hear what the end result is today. So I'm really looking forward to it.
So that's at 420?
420 in the Outer Limits stand.
Outer Limits.
Yep.
But there's some other exciting things. So 10 people, I think, can draw to win a course. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So that's what we're running. One of our key events that we're running here in our stand.
Yeah.
And really that's helping to, those who are interested to hopefully if they're lucky, to get a sample on what we do. And it's the 2-day course. It's our most popular course. It's the 101 in payments. And we cover regulation, the cards and schemes, open banking, and digital and innovation as well. So they get all of the details they're going to need to get started and think about it. And if they like that, hopefully, that they can roll that out to some of their other staff.
So people who want to put themselves forward for that, they can come by your stand, and the announcement will be at your networking event on Thursday, correct?
Correct, yeah. So come to the stand. We've got a QR code on the stand. Draw is simple to enter, and then on Thursday, we will make the draw at the Embedded Futures event with the students there. So we'll say, and we'll update them with email as well, and make an announcement on our LinkedIn webpage as well, which is Payed Education and Payments.
And there's yet one more really nice thing that you have to offer, and not just for people here at Money2020, but also those listening to the podcast.
Yeah, well, look, I want to talk about the launch of our book today, which is called Unleash Your Career in Payments. We strongly advocate to people that you can have a career in payments. It's hard to select that in the industry. Yeah. You don't find many options to say that I work in payments. So we think it's really important that people know that they can have a career, what it's about, what the opportunities are, what the job roles look like, what are some of the key concepts, and also look at some of the careers who've been successful. So we've got 3 great case studies of people who've had to do it themselves, and how they've learned and they've developed and grown. And the success that they have achieved is available for everyone else. So we'd love to be able to help out with that.
So there's a QR code that those who are watching Breaking Banks Europe, they'll be able to see this when they start the program, I think, and in the description.
Yeah.
And, before we close up, I just want to know, is there anything we missed? I do have a few more questions, but I want to see on your side, do you think that there's some things we might have missed?
Well, look, I want to talk about one of the other great things that we've done for this event, which is, again, unique. We love bringing unique experiences together in education, because as you know, Elizabeth, that's how we learn best.
Absolutely.
If we're sitting rote learning, it's not for everyone.
No.
So what we did yesterday, on the way to the event, we got together what we call our masterclass, our Payed masterclass. It was the first time we ever did payments education on the Eurostar. Now, we called it the Payments Express.
Wow. How was that? That sounds so exciting.
Well, look, I can say that this was a 4-hour train trip. The train trip was delayed by 2 hours, so it was actually a 6-hour train trip.
Oh, so thank goodness.
Well, exactly. The people were complaining that the train delay wasn't long enough. So,
I love that.
We had
so
such
maybe
conversation.
You'll be given more courses on the trains. I don't know. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So look, we'd love to do that again next year. So if anyone is thinking about that, just get in touch with us about that one, because we did a group of 10 this year, but there's a lot more capacity to do more on that. So we'd love to hear from individuals and organizations who want to be part of it, because it's about networking. It's also about learning in a comfortable environment
too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the depth that we were covering as well, we did get into it where for those who are interested to go deeper too.
Okay, so this is not the first company you founded, right? Do you have advice to those brave folks out there who are starting new companies that has helped you get through in the tough times?
Well, what I'd say maybe just first of all deal with my experience. So I've set up 3 startups, and my hat goes off to everyone who does do that. Yeah. And I would always advocate that at the right time in your career. For some people that's early, for some people that's later. My hat goes off, and I think it is a life-changing opportunity. So I would encourage people to be ready for that moment in their career when it happens. So that would be the first thing I'd say. The second thing I would say is that it is hard work, but the work is not hard that somebody's cracking the whip on you. It's hard because you're always having to come up with the next thing and the next thing, and that's hard, but it carries the biggest rewards as well.
So I'm going to ask you something about the next thing, but keep going.
And the last thing I would say is to partner well. If you can,
Yeah, that's so important.
It is hard to do it on your own. So I think I've had partners, and Payed I'm doing as a single founder. I find that the co-founder model can work well, by partnering well, because you complement each other, and that really helps you to build something that's extraordinary.
That's wonderful. So I want to go back to the second thing. What's next? What's next on your roadmap?
Well, next for me is in Payed is about growing the business and taking it to new markets. So what we're doing here in Europe at the moment is we're bringing Payed to Europe. We've been working in the UK and Ireland, and now we're here obviously in mainland Europe. We're running the 101 course in Europe now, and we're also running it in the UK. And we'll also be in Madrid in a couple of weeks' time at the EBA Day. So if there's anyone out there, come and look us up there. We're again the knowledge partner at that event, and we'll be speaking at the FinTech section.
Super.
On Payments 2084. Which
Fantastic. I might bring you over actually to the Spanish section and introduce you, because they may want to know about what you're doing already, and you can make appointments while you're there.
Absolutely.
People listening to this who would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
The best way is on our website, payed.biz. And use the contact section there.
Perfect.
Also, download the Unleash Your Career in Payments book as well.
Yeah.
That will pick you up. But do directly contact us there, and we'd love to have a conversation. And look, to your point, when we're dealing with companies and businesses, it is important that we have a holistic discussion. Rather than individuals and companies going. So we'd like to talk to the L&D